I almost lost everything quicker than I was gaining it. I almost lost my family. I almost lost my son. At this point, there was it seemed like we were hopeless. Hi, my name is Dominic, and this is my story. I grew up in a small city in Southeast Los Angeles. At some point, I wasn't doing the best in school. I just didn't grow up in the best of households. I grew up in a household where I'm grateful for my mother, where she provided. She was always working. But when I think of my childhood, that's really what I almost always remember is my mom was always busy. Shortly after starting high school, I ended up getting kicked out. At 15 years old. My mom kicked me out of the house. That's where my life really spiraled out of control. I ended up having to be on my own, ended up being forced to be a man at a young age. And I started working, just very hungry to prove that I can be somebody. And as I moved forward, I realized I had no direction. I was told, if you want to be successful, if you want to do something great with your life, well, you should go to school, get a degree, and get a good job. I did that. Got myself into a college. Turns out it wasn't the route for me. Shortly after that, I was just still confused. I was wondering, man, I'm realizing I have no purpose. And I ended up in a relationship from that moment. I was in an 8-year relationship where I really found myself deeper in confusion. I thought this person was going to be the one that can help me fill the void, help me, grow to the next part of my life. And I just found myself even more confused. But I ended up parting ways from this relationship, and I ended up alone, once again, right back at rock bottom, just at a different phase of my life. And I remember meeting today, who is my wife, and through just work. And she asked me one day at my home, she said, "Would you promise me you'll get closer to God?" And now at first I was wondering, why would she even ask that? But something inside me didn't hesitate and just said yes. That was God just calling me home. I decided to just, by faith, just go to church for the very first time. I knew nothing about God, but I did know that there was something that I felt here in the house of God that I wanted. I remember, shouting out to God, God, I don't know what's happening to me, but I just want more of you. I want everything that you have for me. And I moved forward. I received the gift of salvation. I got water baptized. And there was a pivotal moment where I made a decision, and, I was humbled. I almost lost everything that God gave me. God gave me my son. God gave me my spouse. But I was too prideful to realize that he was doing a new thing in my life, because all I was doing was reverting back to who I was, the angry, bitter, just stubborn man. And I just kept crying out to God. And then he's showing me that I must do things the right way, to live a life fully surrendered. And he restored. And I'm so grateful, because today I stand before you as a married man. God made a way where it seemed like there was no way. God gave me a word that he'd make beauty out of ashes. He gave me a marriage. He gave me a wonderful family. I made the decision to leave the world behind and go after God and everything that he has for me. And today I'm a leader in the house of God. My wife's a leader in the house of God. I've been able to raise a family here in the house of God. I've been able to answer the call of God on my life. Today I get the honor and the privilege to serve God. And if God could continue to do it with me through the Jason Lozano Ministries, he can do it for you. Hi, my name is Dominik, and I'm blessed to partner with Jason Lozano Ministries.